Lucky you, you're on your way to the dentist today for some surgery.
Yeah.
Can you, aside from talking about music, can you talk about well, it has to do with your music, your injuries and your car and
Oh,
how you messed up your teeth and all that.
oh yeah. Okay. Well, uh, my history with having my teeth problems, it goes way back. When I
Dental
was,
woes.
yeah, those kind of dental woes. That's it. Goes back when I was a kid. Because we didn't go to a dentist. We didn't have any money to go to a dentist, and if your tooth got rotten, it just got rotten until it came out.
Rotten. You had
Or
another.
that was the way it was. People who live in abject poverty don't frequent the dentist. For their 6-month checkup or anything. But anyway, as I grew older, I got over all those things, and when I went to England and got with Eric and everything, I finally got a chance to get my mouth together because I had the money to do it. And then, lo and behold, the Live Domino album came out, and the first thing I did was go down and buy a Ferrari Daytona. There's 190, and it's got 180 on the speedometer. And I put it down there a couple of times just to see if it would. I figured if I paid that much money for a car, it better go as fast as it says it went that and faster. But I was young and foolish, and was only not responsible to anybody, including myself, But I was just learning and finding out things. And, life made a few turns and crooks and hills and valleys. And lo and behold, my buddy Keith Moon called me one night and said, "Hey man, come on over, let's bring a guitar, let's play a little bit." And I said, "That's fine." So I had my guy, Bob Miller, who was my second, let's say, call it, my bodyguard. He's a big guy, and he could walk into a room with me, and he just kind of blended with the background. But I had some crazy things went down in my life where I needed somebody like that to look after me for a while. I wasn't good at looking after myself. But Mooney called and wanted me to come over, so I grabbed the guitar, and Bob and I blasted over to church seat to Keith Moon's place, and we was taking a few of those crazy blue meanies and drinking little Bell's scotch.
What's a blue meanie?
It's a tablets. The Beatles sing about them. Everybody had it. It's just rock and roll, We did stupid stuff like that, take uppers and downers and drink whiskey with them, or champagne or fine brandy. And Keith had a well-stocked bar, so all great beers and fine brandies and everything. But we played, and he couldn't play. He couldn't play a 4/4.
Right.
He could play everything else.
We talked about that on the.
Well, yeah, but he couldn't play a 4/4. And so our jam sessions didn't last very long, because I couldn't play what he played.
Did you try to make a band with him?
Oh, no, hell no, not ever, no way.
You just played.
He was just good friends, And funnily enough, the people who were in my life, and my friends while they were here, we didn't play. My friend Philip Donnelly, who just left the scene here a few months ago now, but he and I, we met in 1971 at the Sundance Saloon in the Valley, and he wanted to come up and sit in and play with me, and I said, no. He said, I'm a guitar player, I'm a really good guitar. I said, I'm sure you're a good guitar player. But we just clicked personally, and we knew each other forever and ever, and I wouldn't play with him because everybody that I ever played with went their own way, You're the only person I've ever played with that's been around. Well, he went his own way, but many years later, in 1985, he called me up to come to Nashville, and we did sit down and start playing because he was wanted to write songs and stuff. And Phil was a great guitar player, great guitar player. But when we played together, we drifted apart, after that. And so Mooney was, we never talked about having anything other than a friendship, having fun together.
Right.
And that was all it was about. He'd call me and we'd partied and had a few laughs and a few jars and time to go. And geez, like 4 o'clock in the morning. I guess it's time for me to go home, We hopped in Daytona. I'd had the seat adjusted. There's a big cockpit in that car. I had the seat adjusted to where it was like 2 inches closer and 1.5 inches taller. Because I could barely reach it. And the way the seat latch was, you had to push it down, and it was in front of what you're sitting on. Seat adjustment. You had to push this lever down, and when you push it down, it would go back. Just like that, and made that noise too. But anyway, as I shifted, I would tap it, that thing. It had happened to me twice earlier that day where the seat came loose. And I told Bob, I said, I need to get this down to Marinello's and have that thing checked. I said, my seat's coming loose on me when I shift. When Mooney called, I didn't even think about it. We jumped into Daytona. Boom, we're there in no time, And time for me to leave to come back to Ascot and go home, like 4 or 5 in the morning. Let's go, man. And jumped in a Ferrari and blasted out of Chertsey. And I was going through the gears, I mean, just hitting and speed shifting. I had my accelerator to the floor, and it never came up. And I was just popping the gears, just like that. And shifting out third gear at 90. And when I shifted out, that time I was going down Sand Hills Lane, right across from the Rose and Crown pub. And when I hit it, the seat went, we're doing 90 miles an hour, and I had a hold of the wheel like this, and I shifted, and the seat went back like that, pulled the wheel like that, bang into the curve, round and round, and 3 times in the road, hit the side of the thing, went to hit a brick wall this high, mowed down the brick wall, went through a telephone pole first, sliced that, went down to the brick wall, cut that and just mowed it down. Got to the end, there was a pine tree this big around, hit the pine tree, cut through the pine tree, the car nosedived, took to the air, did 1.5 flips, flew completely over a front garden and landed, boom, like that, upside down, and the door panels were buried 1.5 foot in the ground. I was under there like that, and I told Bob, I'm sorry. And he said, it wasn't your fault, Bobby. He said, don't worry. And the engine was still running. The wheels were going like that. We're buried under the ground. When it happened, I came out of my seatbelt, and because the car nosedived, 1.5 flip, boom. When it was up there, it was all super slow animation. When I hit the brick wall, it's like just like super slow animation. I'm in the cockpit of the car going through all of this saying, it's not my time. This is not how I'm supposed to leave. And I'm also standing on the green watching all this go down. I'm standing there on the green watching this go down. I know that these bodies aren't who we are. They just get us around. This time, I wasn't looking after this one very well. But I think it was eerie because you could smell gasoline and blood. And all of a sudden, somebody grabbed me by the foot. And the man whose house we had mowed down his brick wall, went through the thing, came out, and it happened at 5:30 in the morning, 5:30, and he came out with his shovel and dug a hole there, and opened up the door and pulled me out by my feet, and I came out. I'd shattered all my teeth. I had 17 busted, and it was a mess. I had a piece of trim from the car had gone straight through between the humor and femur of my arm. And I just pulled it out like that. I was in total shock. I felt no pain. All this is in super slow animation until he got me out, and I said, "My friend's in there." And we had 28 gallons of petrol in the car. It's a wonder it didn't blow up. I carried around cash all the time, and I had a couple of £1,000 in a thing in the seat behind me. And when he pulled me out, money was floating down. £5 and 20 and 50-pound notes were floating down from the sky. It was surrealistic, absolutely surrealistic. And we got Bob out. He only had fractures, a couple of ribs. It was a hell of a deal. And my hand was wrenched because when the steering wheel went like that, it wrenched my hand down. And my hand was just a mess. And
Didn't they take you to the hospital?
The old man took us in. We had tea and biscuits waiting on the ambulance. And here I got my front tooth all chipped, knocked out, my mouth full of shells. And ambulance came and took us to, I can finish this story. This is quite funny. I mean, it gets better. But they came and they took us to the Royal Hospital in Windsor. Me and Bob, both. And he was a big guy, big burly guy. And they took us in Royal Hospital in Windsor and walked in. And then the first thing they did was take all our clothes off and put us in these little gowns, you know, that are empty in the back, so I had no clothes on, except my underwear. And we went into this other little room, and of course we probably reeked of brandy and gasoline. We went in this other room, and Big Bob and me, and we're sitting there, and I'm sitting on this like this little table, and we had these gowns on. And a cop comes in, a police officer, and he said, and he was like the Terry Thomas, you know, split tooth in front. You know, he was all proper and everything. He just finished his breakfast, you know.
Not
and then we're the first thing in his day. And he said, blow into this tube here for me, son. And I said, blow into a tube? I said, I just crashed my car at like 190 or something, and you want me to blow into a tube? And I said, go get me a doctor, you know, get somebody to help us out here. We need to see them before we see you. And he was really pissed him off that I was so indignant and disrespectful. He went to get the doctor, and I reached down in my underwear and I pulled out it was compressed marijuana from Africa, and it was about that big. I stuck it down in the crotch of my drawers, you know. I took it, threw it to Bob. I said, go, give that to that guy that was by the door when we came in, you know, the guy in the green outfit, you know. Give it and tell him to call us, hire a car. You know, Paddington 911, you know, Paddington 911, whatever the number was. And he said, okay. And so he went out there. I hopped out the window, and I'm hightailing it across the yard. This is like, you know, 6:30 or so.
In a hospital gown.
Yeah, in a hospital gown, naked as a jaybird, except for the hospital gown. And just like it always happens in my life, up came the hire car. I jumped in the back, and he pulled around the front, and here comes Big Bob running in his hospital gown. And he got in, and I said, take us to, you know, Queensland. And off we went to my house, and called my friend, Detective Sergeant John Clements, and told him, I said, hey, I'm at the house, and I was going to let you know I'm having myself a nice stiff drink if you guys want to come over here and check me out. I said, I'm not checkable. He said, I've already heard all about it. He asked me, he said, why didn't you just call me and let me come and take care of this? Anyway, that's a crazy story, you know.
That's a good one. So that was the beginning of your tooth problems.
Yeah, well, it was also,
So-
that was the beginning of my decline in my residency in England and my residency within myself. I was coming unglued. And after the Ferrari wreck, they prescribed me all kinds of pills to take all day and through the night. I mean, it was a hell of a deal I had to go through because I was in shock. And it was...
The doctor.
It was several years before I could even recount the story without hyperventilating.
I would imagine.
I mean, it was pretty amazing.
The doctors that prescribed you these drugs, were they not the like rock and roll star kind of type doctors?
Yeah, on Harley Street, all
Yeah.
those Harley Street doctors. You know, we had rock and roll dentists. My dentist was
What's
the
the
same
kind of
guy.
stuff
Was the same dentist that George Harrison and Patty went to, and he's the same guy that turned all the Beatles onto acid. So, you know, pretty amazing.
I was going to ask you what kind of medicines were they prescribing you?
Oh, hell,
After
I
your
don't
car.
remember. I don't know. Black beauties and all sorts of stuff. Librium, Valium, black beauties, just heart stuff. I mean, just one thing.
So they would just
a
give you...
myriad of drugs. Certainly, but what it did do, it got me to sitting here right now, being sober 20 years this coming October, sober and clean. But it took me that. I knew that there was no way I'm going to survive this. I knew it. I knew I was not going to survive myself living that way. And one day, I said, I'm leaving. I packed a bag, grabbed my guitar, got on a plane, went to Jamaica for a month, and came back to the United States. I left behind my wrecked Ferrari, my wrecked 6.3. You know, I left behind my house full of furniture, all my clothes, all of my piano, my organs, my guitars, everything I had. I walked out of my rock and roll star life the same way I walked into it, with the clothes on my back, a guitar, and one suitcase. And I ain't looked back yet.